What's up, everybody? I am Tristan Bunn. Glad to have you here to talk about week 3 of the NFL season. Probably the best week of the season so far, in my opinion. We had a ton of great games, a ton of crazy outcomes, and a lot of storylines I want to get into. We'll talk about Eagles-Rams, that Texans-Jacksonville matchup that's affecting the AFC South, Justin Herbert and the Chargers staying undefeated, what's going on with Pittsburgh, Steelers, San Francisco. And then before we get out of here, I'm going to rank the undefeated teams we have remaining, rank them from best to worst, in my opinion. If this is your first time, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends about it. I'm here doing honest, old school football talk every week throughout the entire season, bluffing my way through the season. Well, Philly just keeps rolling. That's the story of the Eagles for the past 2 years. They find a way. They defeated the Rams 33-26 in a game that felt like they were destined to lose. A game they were getting their teeth kicked in at the beginning. It started and I was just baffled. By the time we got to halftime, I was like, oh, they're getting their ass kicked. I knew the Rams would play them close. They always do. You know that's two very good competitive NFC teams, and it was going to be a fight. But Sean McVay, the Rams came out there and punched Philly in the mouth, and it felt like for a lot of that game, Philly just didn't have an answer, and it kind of came down to how conservative they were at the beginning of the game. I'm going to start with the winner, as I like to do. I want to just give Philadelphia credit for finding a way to win. Before we get into the actual game and the big decisions they made that changed it, they feel a lot this year like Kansas City felt last year. It's sloppy. It's not always pretty. Feels like they're leaving a lot on the table. But somehow, when push comes to shove late in the game, they find a way to win it. Their players make the plays. The quarterback gets hot at the right time. The defense, the special teams making plays when they need to help the team win. That's what's so impressive about Philly. They were impressive last year, but they felt almost like a Goliath. This year, they feel more vulnerable because the defense isn't as elite, but the teammate aspect feels better. It feels like they just really are rallying together. They all believe in each other. This is one of the most impressive wins of Sirianni's career. I thought that coordinator was in trouble halfway through the game, and they found a way out of it. Early in the game, they just weren't throwing the football, and they had no success on the ground. Barkley couldn't get going. The Rams had a good game plan. They weren't really scared of being threatened down the field vertically, and it stopped them. And Greg Olsen said on the broadcast, at what point are you going to get A.J. Brown involved? That's been a recurring theme this whole season. And we've seen that pop up in times when he's been in Philadelphia, when he just feels like he's not getting the ball enough. And it's not him not making plays, it's them not targeting him. Before we continue with the video, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Subscribe so you feel better about your sports takes. Back to the video. Well, they got down, and in the second half, they come out and they target A.J. Brown, and he shows why he's one of the best receivers in the league because he's a monster. Every time he got the ball, he made a big play. He was breaking tackles. He was getting first down. He was going up and getting the ball, even if they were a little inaccurate. It became the offensive juggernaut that we were used to seeing from Philadelphia without much of a run game, which is really impressive because Jalen Hurts gets a lot of flack for not being the best quarterback playing from the pocket, and he's not. He's not a quarterback in an elite category. He's not able to break down pre- and post-snap defenses super effectively and adjust on the fly, but he is able to deliver the ball to his playmakers and keep the play alive. And that's what he did. There were a lot of balls he threw today that were a little inaccurate, a little off, but Devontae Smith would adjust and catch it. A.J. Brown would adjust and catch it and make a play. All of his guys made a play, and he gave them a chance. So he deserves the credit for that. Sirianni, the offensive coordinator, they deserve credit for adjusting and saying, hey, if we're going to lose this game, we're going to go down swinging. We're going to get our players the ball. We're not just going to keep handing it off and be in these third and longs that we can't convert, because that's really where Philly struggled in the first half. I mean, they got into those situations, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 16, 3rd and 12. That's how the Rams were able to get them off the field consistently. They talked about it on the broadcast. We all know the big element of the tush push that makes Philadelphia so dangerous is not the tush push play itself. It's what that means for the offense as a whole. It means they're starting every set of downs at 1st and 8. And that's a huge weapon. You're almost always in 4-down territory if it's even close. If you get into 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, where that's a passing down for most teams, you've got a good chance you can run that. So it opens up their playbook in a way it just doesn't open up for a lot of other teams. With that said, the tush push wasn't going to save them in this game. It worked on that 4th down, they got the touchdown, whatever, but they had to air the ball out. They had to start threatening the Rams down the field, and they were able to do that in the second half. A ton of credit to the team. Obviously blocking the 2 field goals. Before we get into that, the big thing that really just flipped the game to me, Lane Johnson got hurt, and they put in the backup right tackle, and he was just getting demolished. It was embarrassing. He was getting worked by that Rams defensive line, and after just a couple series, I think it might have been after the strip sack, whenever, they went to their next backup. I don't know the guy's name. I'm sorry. I don't know the 3rd string on the Philadelphia Eagles. I should have looked it up. But when they put him in there, he was much better. And then the line was able to hold up better. And Jalen Hurts was able to have protection and get the ball out. And the offense was able to start moving and getting in a rhythm. That's one of the things when we talk about Philadelphia, we talk about how overpowered the roster is, how great Howie Roseman has done, getting a fantastic line, receivers, defense, corners. You've got all these guys. Well, Lane Johnson went out, and you really felt it because they were just targeting the backup. The pocket was collapsing. He was getting demolished. Like I said, led to the strip sack. And most teams, I feel like even Andy Reid and the Chiefs, they would have just left that same guy in there, wrote it out, and then figured it out next week. No. After the strip sack, after a couple series, Philly was like, okay, next man up. Let's try because this ain't working and we're not losing this way. That seems like such an easy decision, but so many coaching staffs do the opposite. So many coaching staffs would have just left the backup in. They wouldn't have made a change right there after a couple series. They would have said, well, he's still getting in the game. Let's see what he does. No. Philly recognized, hey, he's getting destroyed. If we want to win, we got to put someone else in there. And that worked, and that helped flip the game, as well as airing the ball out. Huge decision by the coaching staff. I think that was the big thing to mark as getting the comeback going. Clearly, the play everyone's going to talk about is that final blocked field goal by Jordan Davis, not only blocking it, which would have won the game, but then scooping and scoring it, running it all the way back. They said he got like 15, 18 miles an hour or something ridiculous. Incredible. They blocked one earlier in the game, and then when they had to have it most, they delivered. They blocked it again. And it felt like they were going to win the game because they had all the momentum in the second half. The second half was all Philly. So then when Stafford got the Rams in that position to kick the field goal, I felt like he was going to shank it or something because it seemed like Philly just had it. Something was going to happen. And an incredible special teams play. I love special teams. I wish they got more recognition. I wish they got talked about more. Thankfully, this week they will because there's a lot of blocked field goals this week. Like a lot, which is insane. Credit to Philadelphia. Not just the final blocked field goal, but the first one. Finding ways to win. That's what makes this Philadelphia team scary. Yeah, the roster's amazing. The coaching, up and down, but then they've got a ton of players, but it's their team mentality. It's them banding together and saying, hey, someone will make a play. Like I said, it reminds me of the Chiefs last year. Like Jalen will make a play, or someone on the defense will make a play. Or if not, someone on special teams will make a play, which is Jordan Davis. I mean, he's on the defense, but still, someone is going to deliver. This win is going to do a lot for Philadelphia. It's going to make them, no pun intended, feel invincible. And I can't wait to see what kind of team they develop as the season goes on, because they are not even at the peak of their powers. It feels like they're kind of playing with their food a little bit, and they turned it on the second half and did what they needed to do. I want to talk about the other side just briefly, because I've always been a big fan of Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay. Every single year I'm picking the Rams to go on a deep playoff run. I think they're a contender every year. I think the same thing again this year. However, if you're the Rams, you have to be sick. You have to be sick that you let Philly win that game. You let it slip away again, just like you did in the playoffs last year. Now, I'm not like hammering on the Rams or anything. They're a great franchise against a really great team, the defending champs. But if you're the Rams, I can see how you would leave that game being like, man, what else do we have to do? We had them. We had them on the ropes. We came out, we punched them, we had them down. what did we do wrong? The only thing they really did wrong was leave a lot of plays on the table. There were so many opportunities for the Rams to put the game out of reach or to, answer when Philly was climbing back into it. There were so many moments where they got in the red zone or they were creeping or they were driving and it just got stopped and they had to settle for a field goal or something happened or they couldn't get a touchdown or they had a missed pass on 3rd and 3 or a dropped pass. Just so many missed opportunities. That's the difference. The Rams have a good game plan. They know how to deal with Philadelphia, but to beat the champs, it's like teams playing Kansas City all these years or teams playing Brady. It's not good enough to go in there with a great game plan and a bunch of guys executing. You have to capitalize on every single opportunity because if you don't put that team down when you have the chance, if you don't put the game out of reach, you just can't feel comfortable because those dogs on the other side are going to make a play. They're going to crawl back into the football game. The Rams are going to be fine. They're a really, really good football team. I think they've got a good season ahead of them. I really do. The Jacksonville Jaguars find a way to beat the Texans 17-10. They improve to 2-1. The Texans, winless on the season, go to 0-3. I want to talk about both teams and both quarterbacks because this was an ugly game. I'm sure you've all had this. There are games where that's so well played and so well matched. You were like, man, I hate that there's a team that has to lose this game. It's just so good. This is one of those where I felt, oh man, I hate that there's a team that has to win this game. I didn't feel like either team deserved to win this football game the way that they were playing. It felt like neither team wanted to win the football game. This game was so frustrating because the quarterbacks looked so mediocre, borderline bad. I mean, they really, and you just expect so much more out of them, especially because the draft prospects they've been, but we've seen them both be great. I know the narrative on Trevor Lawrence now is he's a bust, he's never been great. That's not true. He had that great season with Doug Peterson where they made the playoffs and played Kansas City really tight in Arrowhead. He looked really good and then the next year he looked good until the injury. They were in the battle for the 1 seed. It's fallen off a cliff. Same with CJ Stroud. The rookie year, fantastic. Looks like an instant top 5 to 7 quarterback in the league. And it's just declined ever since then. Look at these numbers in this game. This is a quarterback comparison. Neither are great. Stroud, 204 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks, 2 sacks, a 66 rating. Lawrence, 220 yards, no touchdowns, an interception, about the same YPA, same amount of sacks, similar passer rating. Neither of those are quarterback performance you can be really happy with, especially when you're throwing it almost 40 times a game. It mainly just leaves me wondering at the state of both of these franchises because obviously the Jags are going to celebrate. They improved to 2-1. Their season's still alive, but they're so rough around the edges. I don't know about Liam Cohen yet. I don't know about Trevor Lawrence. I feel like he's just not reading defense as well. He's just not. Now, he didn't get a lot of help in that game. Brian Thomas Jr. was nowhere to be seen. He was wearing the invisible cloak. And CJ Stroud on the other side, his offensive line doesn't do him any favors. He had to run around all over the place. But these are two quarterbacks that one of them has been paid very highly for some reason. The other is going to be in that situation. And it feels like neither of them are elevating their team. Now, how much can you put on them? That's up for debate. I did a breakdown on CJ Stroud last week. I'll link it up here, breaking down his tape against Tampa Bay and how much I thought was him, how much I thought was the line. But there are a bunch of plays that are on the quarterbacks. And when you're throwing it 40 times, you're not doing enough, especially Trevor, when you're paid that kind of money. And it's frustrating to watch. I'm sorry this is kind of ranty and all over the place, but that's just my big takeaway from this game is I see so much potential with the talent, with the, arm capabilities, with what you could be. And I see so many mental errors and silly mistakes. Like I said, it felt like every time one team was driving or starting to get a grasp on the football game, they'd throw a pick and be like, never mind, other guy can take it. So I don't, even though the Jacksonville Jaguars won, I don't think they can feel good. The Texans fall into 0-3. Season's over. I mean, okay, maybe you sneak into the playoffs, but at 0-3, looking the way you've looked, the way the line has looked, the way Stroud has looked, you're not expecting to win playoff games. If you're the Jaguars, maybe you're still delusional and you can win a wild card. And I guess you could because the AFC is kind of wide open, but not with Indianapolis looking like they are. And that's kind of the story about the AFC. No one had Indianapolis on the radar. I'm a huge Shane Steichen fan, but I didn't know what to expect. I didn't expect Daniel Jones to look like he does. Maybe you wish Trevor Lawrence and CJ Stroud had Shane Steichen. Maybe, how much do you put on the coaches versus them? But neither of these teams are going to feel good when Indianapolis looks like they do, because we're going to see those matchups, but I just don't think either of these teams can compete for the division if they continue to play like they are right now. Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert, and the Chargers just keep rolling because they beat the Broncos 23-20. They are 3-0 for the first time since 2002. The Chargers are a real Super Bowl contender. I think most people thought that after last week, but each week you just feel more confident in it. You feel more confident that this isn't the same old Chargers. That's how we all expected to feel when Harbaugh took this job. But there were questions to what his ability to unlock Herbert would be. Would Justin Herbert finally reach his potential? Because he's been the guy that everybody knows just on the eye test, talent-wise, he's amazing, but we want to see him excel in big moments. So far this season, 3 divisional games, he's excelled in every one. I think you could make an argument Herbert's playing the best quarterback in the league right now. He's probably playing the best at the position. I would put him right there with Josh Allen or Lamar. He really is that spectacular. The Chargers just are so complete. They're so well-rounded. They are well coached. They are incredibly physical, and they have started to unleash their offense. It's not the typical Harbaugh offense where they just, run it 40 times, hope to throw it 20 and get out of there 17-14 with a win. We all kind of talked about it and laughed about Harbaugh saying he woke up one day and was like, I got to get Herbert in the Hall of Fame. I'm starting to believe that's how he felt, because that's how he's operating the offense. Before we continue with the video, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Subscribe so you feel better about your sports takes. Back to the video. I was so worried about the Rashawn Slater injury. Hasn't been a problem. Hasn't been a problem at all. I moved them out of my playoff predictions because that injury scared me. They've moved Alt over. Line's been great. Herbert has plenty of protection, and when he doesn't, he makes a play. So does everybody else. That's also what I wrote down. So many guys making plays. Stark contrast to a team I love dearly, the Kansas City Chiefs, where it feels like no one makes plays, no one helps out the quarterback. In LA for the Chargers, there's so many guys that just step up and make plays. Quentin Johnson, we wrote him off. We thought he was an absolute bust that can't catch anything. I know he's one of the best receivers in fantasy football. Just eye test, he's one of the most impactful receivers so far this season in the NFL. He's been far more impactful than Ladd McConkey, which is crazy. Maybe that's Herbert's trust in him, Harbaugh's trust in him, the offseason, another training camp. They've got everything going. The Chargers are firing on all cylinders. There's really no way to do this and go in and do a deep breakdown analysis about how great they are. Yeah, we could do that. I'm not saying that's off the table or uninteresting to me. I think they're just complete and physical. And the story to me for the Chargers is Herbert finally ascending to where we all expected him to be. This was a tough football game against a divisional opponent. You're down. You're trying to come back and win the football game. You're about to get sacked, and you make that crazy play, rolling out of the pocket, surviving, throwing a touchdown, finding a way to win, making something happen. It's so evident when you're watching that football game that Justin Herbert is the best football player on that field. Him and Harbaugh are a match made in heaven. With the Chiefs looking like they are, it feels like the Chargers are the runaway favorites to win this division. And if they win the division, and if they get a 1 or 2 seed, I would not put it past them to go and beat the Bills or the Ravens. That's really the only thing we have to see. It's like, could they contend with the Bills or with the Ravens? Or are they still not on that level? Just watching it, I think they're on that level. I really, really do. On Denver's side, Denver's defense is good, but they're not elite. And Denver was so hyped up this offseason. I've joked about it on the channel before, but if you watched any videos of insiders talking about training camps they've been to, they were like, guys, Denver, you better watch out. This training camp is a monster. Shows you sometimes training camp and practice, preseason, that lies to you. The Chiefs said they thought Pacheco was back to 100% in training camp. That hasn't been the case. Denver's not bad, but they are not an elite contender like Sean Payton wanted everybody to believe, like a lot of the media and insiders wanted everyone to believe. Credit to them because they were in this football game for a lot of it, but it became evident not just because the Chargers won, but that one team was better. It doesn't mean the other was incapable of winning. Denver almost won. It took a last-second field goal for the Chargers to win. But the big discrepancy in the game is the quarterback play. Bo Nix is such a controversial topic because the jury's still out. We've only seen a season of him. There are some people that think he might be a legit franchise quarterback that can go and compete with the big dogs. There's some people who think he's awful and completely overhyped. He's probably somewhere in the middle, but my takeaway is that Bo Nix is very big play reliant, and he's kind of streaky. He will be terrible for 3 drives. He'll do nothing. He'll miss guys. There's no rhythm to him. He'll run around, then have to throw the ball away. He will be bad for 3 drives in a row, and then he'll get to, 3rd and 18, and he'll make a gigantic throw to Troy Franklin or Cortland Sutton out of nowhere off his back foot, 45, 50 yards. If he could do that more, I think he would be a good player. He's got traits you like, but I need to look at his tape and see why it doesn't manifest more often. And guys, comment below. By the way, thanks for being here. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. Tell me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of the feeling I get. It feels like he's got these big plays every now and again that kind of keep his team in it and leans on the defense, and that's it. He doesn't feel like the kind of quarterback I can trust to go, back-to-back 12 play, 60, 70-yard drives. He can get one of those, 2 a game, but a lot of it is big plays. He will just kind of be non-existent, be in a rut. You're not expecting much from him, and then all of a sudden, he'll break a big run, hit a big pass, make something happen. He'll give the offense life and finish a touchdown. He's got talent. There are things to like, but it just doesn't feel like he's a consistent top franchise quarterback that you can rely on like a lot of people want him to be. So I don't know. Let me know how you feel about Bo Nix. That's just something I wanted to mention because it's like all or nothing with him. He makes plays that you are genuinely wowed at, and you're like, oh, okay, there we go. And then you'll wait for 20 minutes for it to happen again. So very strange. He's a weird player, but Denver's a team that could do like last year. They could sneak into the playoffs. And I think if they snuck into the playoffs this year, like last year, maybe they don't get blown out in the first game, but I don't think they have the team, the quarterback to compete with the Chargers, the Bills, the Ravens in these late season games. I'm just not seeing that. I think they need more. I think they're lacking a little bit on the roster. But, it was fun to talk about in the preseason. So the Steelers beat the Patriots today, 21-14. The Patriots had 5 turnovers. They kind of gave the game to Pittsburgh. And I just want to talk about how Pittsburgh looks overall because we know, not just in the Mike Tomlin era, but the Steelers' identity is having a great defense. The offense is going to be hit or miss, downright bad at times, but that defense is going to make plays and keep us in ball games. We wondered after week 1, was that an anomaly? 3 weeks in, the Pittsburgh defense just looks bad. They don't look like the defenses you're accustomed to seeing. And I know a lot of people are saying, Mike Tomlin will figure it out. They'll get there. I don't know if they will. I know they only gave up 14 points today, but people are just moving the ball on them. They're not as scary as they usually are. It doesn't seem like they're as physical. They're not rushing to the football. I say that. They did create a bunch of turnovers, but, it's New England. It feels like they're missing something on that side of the ball. Offensively, Aaron Rodgers, obviously better than he has been the past couple years, but they are limited offensively. My main concern with them is just consistent run game, taking some of the pressure off Rodgers. Surprising enough, Rodgers is one of my he's a lower concern to me on the Steelers team. I don't have any faith in them to beat top AFC teams. It's starting to seem like Pittsburgh's going to be what they always are. I say this every year. Because we've talked on this channel before about, is it time to move on from Mike Tomlin? Is it time to make a change? Mike Tomlin's a good football coach. I'm not calling for anybody's job. What I would always say on this channel is, if I was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, which I'm not, but if I was, I would not be content winning 9 or 10 games every year, making the playoffs, and getting blown out, embarrassed in the first round. If that's good enough for you, then stay the course. But that's been the story for the Steelers for the past 10 to 15 years or whatever. I mean, they haven't won a playoff game in a while. So I think that's where we are again. Do I even think they're a lock to make the playoffs? No. But, they're sitting in a solid position. It just feels like they're a team that can sneak by enough games to make it as a 7 seed and get blown out by the 2 seed in the first game of the playoffs. So that's just kind of what Pittsburgh does. And I don't see anything to make me think it's going to go another way. Patriots fans, how are we feeling about Drake Maye? Because what I wrote down today, there's nothing he does that impresses me. I liked him in the draft. I liked him coming out. I thought, he had potential, but it's just becoming evident to me. He has no qualities that make me confident he can go win a game for the team. Like if we're in a desperate situation and Drake Maye, put the team on your shoulders and go win it. There's nothing I've seen to make me think that's there. Not saying that can't develop. I'm not saying a guy's career is over after 2 seasons. I'm not the hot take guy. I'm just talking about, do we think he has the potential to be a great franchise quarterback? What are we thinking? And what I see so far into his second season is that his ceiling, to me, feels like mediocre player that might surprise you occasionally. That feels like the ceiling. And I don't know if that'll be good enough for New England. Now, quarterback hunting is not something you want to do. We've seen Mike Vrabel win a bunch of games with Ryan Tannehill. But I will remind everybody, I know everybody loves Mike Vrabel. Let me just remind everybody, the Tannehill was an issue with Tennessee. Yeah, they'd win a lot of games, but when they got into the postseason, when they got into these big games, the quarterback play became a big problem, even with Derrick Henry. And the Patriots don't have Derrick Henry. I know it's just year one of the Mike Vrabel rebuild, so I'm obviously giving them time, not talking even about Vrabel or his technique here. I'm just saying it feels like Drake Maye plays good enough that he's going to kind of fly under the radar because he's not atrocious. He's not having those just awful, terrible games like Caleb Williams. Maybe because he's not in primetime slots. Maybe it might be because he's playing at 1:00 every single Sunday. That could have something to do with it. That might work out in his favor. But I think he's just going to fly under the radar for a while. But when you watch him, you just can't help but to think that he's milquetoast. There's just nothing very impressive in his game. There's nothing offensive in it, but he has no wow qualities. And for a franchise quarterback in the AFC, in the same division as Josh Allen, it's not fair, but I need a quarterback to have wow qualities. I need you to jump off the tape out at me. And Drake Maye doesn't really do that. So Patriots fans, let me know if I'm way off the mark here. How do you guys feel about him? You feeling good? You promising? I don't know. I think this is kind of what he'll be. I don't see a lot of room for him to grow and become someone that can really impress you in the AFC. So that might be a little worrisome. Patriots have other problems. Turning the football over, chief amongst them. Against all odds, the 49ers find a way to beat the Cardinals. They stay undefeated. They beat Arizona 16-15. They are undefeated, but I don't know if I trust them. Do you feel any different about it? They might be in a good position because they've got a really easy regular season schedule. So I think they're going to be in a good position to make the playoffs. I did not predict them to. I thought the season would be worse than it is because of the roster and the injuries. But I think they're going to probably squeak into the playoffs at this rate. They're atop the division. They're in good shape. they're also a well-coached football team. Bringing Robert Saleh back has been huge because that defense has made vast improvements. They are a far better coached defense than they were without him. Fred Warner, sometimes I think he's my favorite player in the NFL. I love him. He's affecting every single play. Just an absolute dog of a football player. I just don't know if they can be considered like a real threat or a real contender, or if this is just going to be a nice, surprising season. The injuries are inexcusable. We talked about that before, but at a certain point, you have enough injuries where you stop saying it's chance. It's like, man, what a coincidence. Every single year, the 49ers have some of the most injuries in the league. Oh, well, nothing we can do about it. I don't know how there's not a strong internal deep dive. And maybe there is. Obviously, we don't see what's going on, but I would be going in, banging the desk and like, I don't care if I fire the entire training staff, medical team, and start over. There is no, way. It's a statistical anomaly for us to have this many injuries every single season. Like, it's unforgivable at this point. Some people are going to jump on me and be like, well, they can't help it. That's where we disagree. I think they can help it. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what to do different. I'm just saying this many years, this many injuries over and over, same old story every single season. It's not a coincidence. There is something up with that. And that needs to be addressed because if you don't have the injuries, then, I mean, you're a Super Bowl contender probably even now, even with the roster deficiencies. But you're just always playing with one hand tied behind your back, it feels like. Credit to the team because they won this football game. Mac Jones played really well, put them in a position to win the game. Ricky Pearsall, starting to see what he can be because I think he's a really good wide receiver. Defense played well. It is Arizona. Cardinals are the Cardinals. They do what they always do. They pretend to be interesting for a couple months and then everybody forgets about them. But still, this is a big win because you take over the top of the division, especially with the Rams losing everything. You're in a good position considering your schedule. The one caveat, even though they have an easy schedule, I'm waiting to see how they look against the Rams. Week 1, they beat the Seahawks, but barely. It was a really close game, 17-13. Then they escaped the Saints, 26-21. This week, they escaped the Cardinals, 16-15. Winning is winning. I'm not knocking that. The Saints aren't a very good football team. The Cardinals are frisky, but, who knows? I know you have a backup quarterback, but Mac Jones in Kyle Shanahan's system is a competent quarterback. You feel good. I mean, there was a reason he wanted him in the draft. He's able to run that system efficiently. Cut down on the turnovers. That's kind of his thing. But the 49ers have the Jaguars next week, and then they go to LA to take on the Rams. They go to Tampa Bay to take on the Bucs. The Jaguars, not so much, but those other two are tough games. This next stretch, these next 3 games, if they come out of those 3 games 2-1 in those 3, I would be very impressed. If after the Bucs game, they are 5-1, man, okay, they're in good shape, especially if they can really compete with the Rams. Now, we know it's going to be close because it's a divisional matchup. Divisional games are always close, but is there a clear talent discrepancy on the field? Is it something to where you feel like would rear its head in January? And is it indicative of the 49ers might not can hold up against these other teams like the Packers, the Eagles in the NFC? I think everyone in San Francisco knew this was kind of a rebuild year. This is kind of not a rebuild, but just reset, readjust, make a Super Bowl run next year because all of their players from those runs they had were aging out. They're kind of transitioning the roster. But to be 3-0 with the backup quarterback, you feel good. They've got Jaguars, Rams, Bucs, and then you got Falcons, Texans, Giants, Rams again. Pretty easy schedule. I want to see how they look against the Rams. That's really the toughest competition they've got on their schedule, Rams and Bucs. So if they hang with both of those teams and are feisty and are fighting, who knows? I don't think this is a team that can go win multiple playoff games, but if they get healthy, get Purdy back, start to get more dynamic offensively, you never know. Because that's the thing. The offense has just been kind of a struggle this year because of the injury bug. We'll see, but I did not expect them to be 3-0 at this point. Good coaching. They're a well-run franchise. This is what happens. So credit to San Francisco. They're in a good spot at the moment. Week 3 of the NFL season is in the books, and there are 6 undefeated teams remaining. I thought it would be fun to go through and rank them how I think they are right now. Best to worst. In no particular order, they are Bills, Chargers, Colts, Eagles, 49ers, and Bucks. Here we go. I think right now, the best undefeated team in my eyes is the Buffalo Bills. I would have them firmly at number 1. They're going to be a contender. The only thing that's held them back at all is, can they beat Kansas City in the playoffs, in the postseason? Well, the way this season's going, that might not be an issue because Kansas City has not looked good. Maybe that'll change once they get healthy at wide receiver. But if you told me Buffalo doesn't have to play Kansas City in the postseason, I mean, I think they win the Super Bowl. I did pick them to win the Super Bowl this year over Tampa Bay. So I think this is their year. They're a well-oiled machine at this point. Josh Allen is fantastic, but he's playing within the offense, doing what he needs to do, managing the game and taking it over if necessary. James Cook looking fantastic off that contract. The only problem with the Bills, as it always is the defensive injuries. We know McDermott gets a lot out of the defense, gets more than most coaches probably should. But the Achilles heel for Buffalo is in the postseason, their defense typically gives up a lot of points. Can that change this year? Can they avoid Kansas City? It feels really good if you're a Buffalo fan. I think they look like the best team in the league. Number 2 on the list is the Philadelphia Eagles. While they might not look as good as some teams behind them at the moment, they get the benefit of the doubt because of the roster, because they're the defending champs. I talked about it earlier in this episode. They're doing what championship teams do. They're finding a way to win. Even when they play sloppy, even when things are going wrong, they band together. Somebody makes a play. A.J. Brown, Jordan Davis, special teams, whatever we need to do to win, we will do it. That Rams game proved it. It was such a disaster in the first half, and in the second half, they said, okay, we're airing it out. We're going vertical, down the field. A.J. Brown, their willingness to adapt on the fly and compete as a team, coming off that Super Bowl, I just don't know how you could have Philadelphia or lower. Most people would say they probably should be 1 because they're the defending champs. I think Buffalo looks better, but they're right there with them. Number 3, I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because Baker Mayfield continues to prove that he is a top 5 to 7 quarterback in the league. And it's one of the best stories since I've been really talking about the NFL on the internet. What has happened to Baker Mayfield just makes me so happy. The fact that Cleveland didn't want him. He gets bounced, goes to Carolina. They don't want him. Has the 1 week flying in on Tuesday with Sean McVay, gets a chance with Tampa Bay, and just continues to take them to the playoffs. He gets a new coordinator every year, and he just keeps going. He just looks better and better. He's going to deliver. When he gets the ball, he's going to make plays. He's got that moxie. Todd Bowles, kind of one of the most underrated / disrespected coaches in the league. They just continue to perform. They're a good front office. They're a well-run team. The concern this year was the defense, and I feel like they've outplayed what we expected. The defense has looked far better than we thought they would. Egbuka has made an immediate impact. Bucky Irving is a fantastic running back. They have so many great pieces. They're the one team in the NFC that I think really could present a challenge for Philadelphia, which we will see. Number 4 for me is the Chargers. Justin Herbert playing like this with a Harbaugh team. You could argue they should be higher, and maybe they will be if they keep rolling like this. Herbert is finally coming into his own. He is finally fulfilling his potential. Harbaugh isn't just running it 100 times a game and throwing it 16. He is unleashing Herbert. All of his guys are making plays. The line's holding up. Quentin Johnston has resurrected his career. They look fantastic, and they lead the AFC West. I would not want to play them because they are a physical, talented football team. Number 5, the Indianapolis Colts. We're all kind of wondering if it's a mirage. I'll say it. I understand. We're all wondering, is it for real though? Like Daniel Jones, it's going to come back down to earth at some point, right? Just let me put Daniel Jones out of the equation for a moment, because when Shane Steichen took over the Colts job, I thought it was a slam dunk. I thought Steichen was one of the best offensive minds in the league. I thought he was going to have success immediately. He did. He had a great season with Gardner Minshew. He's a drop pass away from the playoffs. I mean, like almost there. They get to take a few steps back because they drafted Anthony Richardson, which was a mistake. How much impact did Steichen have on that? How much was front office? We don't know. We know that if you give Shane Steichen a competent quarterback, he looks good. Look at what he did with Jalen Hurts. Look at what he's done with every quarterback except Anthony Richardson. If anything, this just shows you how bad he was. Daniel Jones, I think, is playing with a newfound confidence. He's got so many weapons around him. Jonathan Taylor, looking like he did a couple seasons ago. He's really arguably the best back in the league right now, playing like the best back. I'm not saying he is the most talented. They are firing on all cylinders. Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator, Cincinnati, dumb enough to fire him. They're like, hey, our roster's bad. Let's fire the guy who's, does great things with it. Indianapolis is a scary, scary football team. The only worry is at some point, people are like, well, yeah, but Daniel Jones is going to come back down to earth, right? He's not going to continue to play like this. I mean, he's got some of the best stats in the league, but at some point it has to stop, does it? Like Sam Darnold, this is one of those situations. I don't know if it will be. It could be, but Sam Darnold, I think, could have kept that going longer in Minnesota if they had been more well-rounded and consistent. They got away from the run, and then he had to drop back, and the O-line betrayed him, and he got, a little carried away. If Indy can stay well-balanced and run the football and just orchestrate these drives and control the football game like they are, they're going to be a tough out for any opponent. I don't think they're like Super Bowl contenders or anything, but they are a real team. That's why they're 5 on my list. Number 6, last but not least, the San Francisco 49ers. I talked about them earlier. I won't spend too much time. I just don't know if they have the juice to compete with the top teams, in the NFC. Can they go and beat the Packers or the Rams in a playoff game? I'm not sure. The injuries are an issue. They're in a weird transition year. However, Robert Saleh on the defense is making a huge impact. Ricky Pearsall's playing well. Mac Jones doing what he needs to do. They're surviving, and it feels like they're just executing as a team. Do what we need to do to win. Just keep going. Do what we need to do to win. I don't feel great about them. Watching them doesn't feel, amazing. They don't feel like a dominant football team, but they are undefeated. They have beat 2 division opponents, so something has to be said for that. They're well coached, a well-run franchise. They're bottom of the list for me because out of all the undefeated teams, I think I trust them the least, but that doesn't mean they can't surprise me. This was supposed to be a transition year, and they're doing well, even despite losing Brock Purdy. So credit to them. That's my list of the undefeated teams in the NFL from best to worst. Thank you so much for watching the video. I appreciate you for being here. If this is your first time, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends about it. I'm trying to grow the channel. I am just an idiot with a microphone, bluffing my way through the football season, delivering funny, honest, genuine football and sports talk as you would with your friends, the way it used to be. We used to have these kind of conversations more, and it feels like we've gotten away from them and more hot takey, more clickbaity. I understand on YouTube, we got to put the titles, but I like to just have genuine football discussions and go through the storylines because the NFL is the best soap opera on television, and we are addicts. We're hooked to it every single week. I'll be here through the rest of the season. I appreciate all of your support. I am going out of the country for the next week and a half, 2 weeks. So the next 2 weekends, I won't be in the States. The quality on the channel is going to dip. I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to shoot videos while I'm there, but I'm not packing up all my gear and taking overseas on a 9-hour flight or whatever. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to take my phone. I'm going to record videos on my phone. I'm going to post them. But if anyone sees this and then is watching them, it's like, oh, why the quality kind of gone down? That's why. Won't be long. I'll be back before you know it. But videos will still be coming. They just won't be, well set up as this one is. Some of you might think this looks like shit. And if so, that's not going to do any better. Thank you for being here. I'll see you guys next week. Be safe. Goodbye.